Arlene McCarthy, Labour MEP for the North West. Recommendations from the European Commission on fracking, but no new regulation. What's your reaction?
Well, we've been calling, in fact, for some EU action in this area because we do think it's a serious problem in terms of the environment. It's a problem for our citizens, for local residents who are going to be in these areas. Well, it's quite clear to me that Cameron and this government has got to the Commission with their friends in Hungary and the Czech Republic who want to dash now to exploring and drilling for this new energy option. They've got to them, they've stopped them from bringing out any kind of legislative proposal, regulatory proposal. Would have been even better, I think, if we'd had binding guidelines. But let's focus on what's in the guidelines, and I think really they are guidelines and recommendations, in a sense, that this government would do well to heed, I think, in terms of...
Let me ask you then about a couple of those recommendations in a moment. But first of all, do you think then that this is a lost opportunity, that the Commission, the European Union, could have gone a lot further in putting safeguards in place?
Well, not if the UK government stops them from doing that. I mean, if member states agree that there needs to be a common approach in this area, and I think there should be, because we have an EU energy policy, we have an EU industrial policy. I think it's very sensible, particularly when they were looking at the environmental impacts of this, that the EU adopt standards in this area, and they should be binding standards. So we don't have that, we simply have recommendations, but I do think that the UK government, if it's serious about respecting the environment, about making sure that citizens feel happy that there is not going to be problems with this new energy development, that they should comply with those guidelines.
And you mentioned that you're content with perhaps the content of some of those recommendations, even if they don't go even if they're not hard enough. Just explain what's in there that you're pleased has been at least mentioned by the Commission in these recommendations.
Well, I think they're very much in line with what we as Labour have been fighting for and putting on the table consistently here in Europe and back in the UK and Westminster. We've said very clearly that there's got to be proper monitoring, there's got to be environmental impact assessments undertaken, there has to be consultation and cooperation effectively with the public, with citizens on this issue. So it's all there effectively. The problem is it doesn't have any teeth, but we're now saying to the government, take those recommendations, but particularly also take the ones that they didn't take from us as Labour in the UK, and that was, it's vital, I think, to look at the greenhouse gas emissions, and namely methane. We said that the methane levels should be assessed before any drilling goes ahead. That the UK government has not adopted. The Commission has sensibly said, take that option. So we say you should take that option if you're serious about protecting the environment. The second one is long-term monitoring. There can't be an unseemly rush to give a licence, drill immediately, and then worry about the impact after you've got the problems. So 12 months monitoring was what we suggested. We think that's a very sensible way to proceed. And again, the Commission has followed, in a sense, our view on that it should be proper monitoring, proper consultation. I would like, with those impact assessments, and I see no reason why it wouldn't be possible, that the companies and the government release those impact assessments to the public, so again, citizens can be reassured that there really is no health and safety or environmental impact that is negative that would result from any exploration or drilling.
Given that these are only recommendations, there's not new legislation from Europe, and that the UK government is very keen on going ahead, are you now expecting to see far more wells, far more drilling get underway in your constituency of the North West?
Look, I mean, the government's already, just prior to the new year, given 150 licences across the country. That's 2/3 of the countryside. I think that shows where they want to end up. I think it does show that they want to get on with this and they want to do it fast. What we're saying is, do the due diligence, do the work on it, do the environmental impact assessments, make sure that there is no risk either to the environment or to the public, and then let's look at it. If this is going to be a long-term energy option, and of course some people don't think it will be the great white heat opportunity that people think it might be, if it's going to be a real long-term opportunity, then take the time to do it properly. We don't need to rush to drill for a new energy source that could have devastating environmental consequences, and once that's happened, it's too late to fix it once the damage is done.
I mean, are we going to look back on today and see this as allowing things to go ahead? Because even though, and you mentioned there that the government is very keen and is granting licenses and so forth, but even so, if the European Commission today had come out with strong regulation today, that could have surely put some of that in check, couldn't it?
I think we're going to remember this as a day when the UK government got its way in terms of stopping and putting obstacles in the way of what to me seems very common sense rules, protecting the environment, protecting the public, making sure citizens are happy with this new energy option. I don't see why, if the government's confident that it's a good, safe option, they wouldn't want to comply with these guidelines. So we're saying to them, they may be guidelines, take them up if you really believe that this is a safe new energy source for the future.
Briefly, is that then where your energy, your focus is going to be in putting pressure on the government to take up these guidelines, these recommendations from Europe?
Yes, well, we'll take this campaign, we'll continue with it here, but we'll take it up back in the UK and with our Labour shadow ministers, to make sure actually that we do not put the environment or the public at risk.